Roy, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here in the UK as you prepare for the first fight, working in the corner, of course, of Chris Eubank Jr. on Saturday. Happy and excited to be here, you are, I'm sure.
Yes, I am. Very happy and very excited to be here.
Chris was talking recently of the unique setup, a training camp in Florida. He said he'll be training sometimes and a chicken will run in and run through the ring when he's sparring. For those who might not know about the environment out there and the setup, can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I live on a rooster farm, you know, and it's like, I have roosters, I have turkeys, I have ducks. I got too many ducks, I got too many chickens too, and I'm trying to get more turkeys. Got peacocks, so they're all type of animals. I got dogs, I got sheep. The sheep stay kind of confined, but everything else kind of runs loose. So when you're in the gym, you might see anything, you know, and I love it because in a boxing match, guess what? You might see anything. So it's like a place to prepare yourself mentally for war, because anything may happen. You may be running or walking, you may see a snake run by. Go down to the pond, you may see a crocodile, or I mean alligator, not a crocodile, alligator. You got to be ready for it, for whatever, but that's how boxing is.
Brilliant. What can you tell us about when you and Chris first linked up? I believe it was about 1.5 years ago now, but talk to me through how things, you know, from the first meeting to working together and how things manifested to this point.
Well, I was working with a friend of his named Kevin Newman, and Kevin fought out there, and I was going through things with Kevin. That was my first time really meeting Chris Jr., and so we talked a little bit, not much, just a little bit. I think he was just more watching what I was teaching Kevin more so than anything, but I didn't train Kevin for that fight. I was just kind of trying to last minute, you know, help him out, encourage him a little bit. And he didn't really understand my lingo as much as he should because he hadn't really worked with me before. So he came back, and while we went back, he lost the fight. Went back, and a few days later, as a matter of fact, later that week, Chris Eubank Jr. contacted me. Said, hey, my son would like for you to be his trainer. I seen him, I know him, I seen him fight a few times, so I'm like, Chris Eubank Jr. Me and Chris Eubank Sr. never got to fight, but I have nothing but the utmost respect for Chris Eubank Sr. So I was like, okay, we'll work it out, let's make it happen. He said, what would you charge me? I told him what I would charge, and that really wasn't, for me, that really wasn't the big part of it. I was just happy that the kid thought enough of me that he wanted to come learn. So he came, and he was talking about it, and he said, I'm here. He could text me and said, I'm here. I'm back. I thought he was back in the UK. I said, come because the pandemic had just started. I said, you in the UK? He said, no. I'm here in Pensacola, Florida. I said, you what? He said, yes, I'm here. I said, all right. So he came out, and we talked, and we got started. We went over a couple of things, and I started lightly working with him because I thought he was going to be there for maybe a week and leave. You know, I didn't think he was going to stay. So next thing I know, it was 2 weeks and 3 weeks. So I started really giving him what I wanted to give him because I realized he was going to be there. I didn't want to start giving him my mentality that I give, and he's going to leave next week because it's not going to do him no good. But he was there. So I was intrigued by how he stayed. Even during the pandemic, he never left. So 1 week he said, I got to take a vacation, a little tired. So I said, cool. He had been there about 6 weeks at that point. He left. A week, like he said, bam, right back. I'm like, wow, this dude is really serious, you know? I'm like, okay, so, you know, I just continued to teach him, and it's been one of the funnest things because when he spars, he's so aggressive at times, but at other times he goes a little bit back too far. So I'm trying to bring the balance up of bring the aggression down just a little bit, but bring the rest, the recovery up a little bit so that we have less dead time, you feel me? So that's really been my biggest obstacle with him.
Chris has described his father as his life coach and his mentor in that sense, but with you it's strictly boxing. He says with you that the gym is life, boxing is life. That's how he thinks when he's around you. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think that's totally a fair assessment because I don't know much about him and his father, and I don't really like to get into father-son relationships, but I know where I came from with my father, and that would have been the best situation for me is to have my father as a life coach, but let somebody else take over the boxing because you don't want the personalities to intermingle because father and son, business and business is two separate people. And that's one thing me and my father never could get right because my father never could separate business to business and father and son. You understand me? So I do understand that, and I try not to get into it because it's not my business about their relationship, but I just try to do the best that I can to satisfy both. So I try to give Chris everything I can give him, and his father called first and said he wanted me to train him, so you have to have respect for that too. So I try not to get in the way of anybody, but I do understand that, and I appreciate Chris Jr. for establishing that you're my father, you're my trainer. So there's a difference. So we never have to worry about our lives, our worlds combining.
Chris Eubank Jr. has openly admitted how much he looked up to you as a world champion when he was growing up, and how working with yourself has motivated him so much to be the best version of himself every day. How impressed have you been so far from what you have seen of him and the developments you've seen of him as well?
I've been highly impressed, and the first thing I've been impressed about is his willingness to come back and get right back in the gym. He'll take his week off like you asked sometime, and he's right back. Holiday comes, he said, I'm going to see my people, and I'll be back. He's right back. And it's like, that says more to me than anything. So the fact that now he's back, he gets me sometime because we'll be going through stuff, and it looks like he's not really paying attention. So he'll do it. Some days I'm on him about doing it. Some days I just let him do what he does. Because he has a lot, like I said, like I tell people, he had a belt when he came to me. So I can't just dismiss what he does. He did something right, or he wouldn't have had a belt. So, but I don't have an ego so big that I can't respect it. You understand me? So some days I just let him do what he do. But what surprises me is that when it comes time to do what I taught, he can do it. You understand me? So maybe it may not look like he's learning and listening, but he is. He's always paying attention. So when you see him 2 days or a week later, exactly what we worked on last week, he does it perfectly. I'm like, wow. So he's getting it. It's just going to take a little time still, but he's getting it, and that's the main thing.
Chris said when we asked him last week that he didn't know an awful lot about Marcus Morrison, whom he's fighting on Saturday. And despite Chris being out the ring for a little while, he's coming in as a big favourite to win this fight. Do you believe, given where Chris wants to go, you know, you said recently to Andy Scott there, you know, you're building for the future, but do you believe where Chris wants to go, he has to win and look good doing it this weekend?
I'm not going to say he has to look good doing it. I think he will look good because that's who Chris is. He also has the showman from his father. So that's a beautiful thing because no matter what they do, they're going to make it look good. You understand me? So winning is the main part for him. He wins, then he's going to look good winning because that's just who he is. So I don't think he really has to worry about looking good. I just think he got to focus and make sure he works on the things that he's been working on in training so that we can both see progress. Because it's not about rushing now, it's about slowly progressing now.
All focus is on Marcus Morrison, of course, on Saturday night, but the likes of Gennady Golovkin, Kell Brook, Canelo Alvarez, do you see these as realistic fights for him in the next 12 to 18 months?
Those are realistic fights, but like I said, I don't look at them right now. I know they're realistic because when you fight, it's like anything else, man. You can't be in football and not be thinking of Tom Brady down the line. Because you know if you're in football, you're probably going to see Tom somewhere down the line because that's the world championship team. So you can't act like you're going to just not think about these people. You have to think about it. But what you also have to remember is that if you don't open that door and walk through it today, then that will never happen tomorrow. You understand me? So what we take for granted a lot is that if we don't wake up today, then what we think about doing tomorrow ain't never going to happen. You got to wake up today in order for tomorrow to happen. Then you got to wake up again tomorrow for it to happen. So when I say that, I'm saying that in the sense of if you don't beat Marcus Morrison, then you can forget about what you think about doing down the line. So right now you have to always focus on what's at hand. Because if we don't wake up today, if we don't wake up this morning, then what we plan to do this evening is never going to happen.
But you believe, of course, if he does what you have been teaching him, and you believe how good he can be, he can mix it with these guys when the time comes.
I think so. I know he can mix with these guys when time comes. It's just that, like I said, I want to see how much of it he can put into action up under these lights right now. That's what's most important. Not that you can do it, but can you do it under the lights? That's why we do fights with people like Marcus Morrison to find out how we're progressing under the lights.
One fight that Chris has talked about a lot that's fast approaching on May the 8th, the battle for super middleweight supremacy, Canelo Alvarez against Billy Joe Saunders. I just wonder if you break that fight down, how you see that fight unfolding.
You know, a lot of people don't give Billy Joe a big chance, but what you have to remember is the two people that caused Canelo the most problem in his career, in my opinion, was Erislandy Lara and Floyd Mayweather. What were both of those guys? Excellent boxers. What is Billy Joe Saunders? An excellent boxer who also has pretty good power. So the only bad thing for Billy Joe is that he's been out of the ring, so that time out of the ring may hurt him, but if he can get into the fight and get over the ring rust, it's going to be a really good fight because This is the classic fight you want to see. The classic counterpuncher boxer versus the classic boxer. You understand me? So Canelo is known as somewhat of a puncher, but he's really more of a counterpuncher. But so is Billy Joe. And as a matter of fact, Billy Joe may fight more of a counterpunching style even than Canelo. So that's going to make it a really good, interesting fight if Billy Joe can get in the fight.
In terms of the main event here on Saturday, Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker will be ring walking to your song Can't Be Touched, which perhaps might influence your opinion a little bit, but how do you see that fight unfolding also, and who do you see winning and why?
Joseph Parker is a really good fighter. He's a punching heavyweight who also can throw combinations. I thought Joseph Parker had a really good showing against Anthony Joshua. I thought that fight was a little bit closer than they made it. And I think Joseph Parker, if he's motivated, is a really tough guy to beat. The good thing about the heavyweight division, though, is that when a guy has a punch like Chisora, anything can happen. So what will really determine the outcome is what kind of shape and what kind of mentality they come in the ring with. If Chisora comes in shape and has that can't be touched, can't be stopped mentality, more so than Joseph does, then he can upset Joseph Parker. But if Joseph Parker comes in focused and ready with that can't be touched mentality, then he should beat Chisora.
Just finally then, Roy, a big night, of course, for Chris on Sky Sports Box Office and DAZN around the world. You're predicting and hoping for a clinical Chris Eubank Jr. performance, but what will you be satisfied with on Saturday?
I'll be satisfied with a win, and a win that shows improvement in the boxing game. As long as we get a win and we see improvement in his boxing game, I'm good.
Roy Jones, absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us.